Coliseum is filled nearly to capacity as we welcome you to the Infinity College Basketball Tip-Off. And we are set to begin a terrific day of college basketball. Two of the top power conferences in the nation square off, and this sets the table. West Virginia fresh off a win against number 2 Kansas at home against Texas A&M. And again, this just begins the day as Bob Huggins impressed Virginia against a Texas A&M team that has won 2 in a row in 3 of their last 5. Then we head to Norman, Florida, ranked in the top 25 on the road against a young and dangerous Sooner squad. Texas and Georgia at 4 Eastern here on ESPN, all leading up to the main event. Number 2, number 4, Kansas and Kentucky at Rupp. A terrific day, 2 great conferences, and according to Joe Lunardi, already the Big 12, the second strongest RPI, third most of any conference in America, with 7 teams in the tournament if it began tomorrow, and of course taking you up to KU and UK. Hi again, everyone. Bob Wischusen here with Fran Fraschilla. Thanks for kicking off what is a great day of college basketball, leading up, Fran, to that scene at Rupp that will be quadrupled in size when the game crowd is in there. What a road test for Kansas.
Absolutely. The 2 winningest programs in college basketball history tied together, the coaches, Calipari and Self, by a common heritage. Going back to the 80s, they were both assistant coaches at Kansas for Larry Brown.
Well, this one sets the table, and this, a very important game for both of these teams. Billy Kennedy told us a great opportunity on the road against West Virginia for his young team, and he's got an emerging star in Robert Williams that all of a sudden is showing up on Chad Ford's draft board.
Absolutely. 6'10", about 240 pounds, from Little Vivian, Louisiana, right on the Texas border, and he's sort of been shot out of nowhere. Really good early season. Just watch his poise. Catches, looks middle, recognize where the D is, where his teammates are, goes into his move. But this is the more impressive thing. An elite athlete with quickness, length, and that quick jump ability. He could be a factor today.
A great road challenge for Robert Williams and Texas A&M, and you've been watching the Infinity Tip-Off. Now let's take a look as coaches compete for a charity of their choice in the Infinity Coaches Charity Challenge.
For a chance to win a trip to one of the year's biggest sporting events. Like this, and this, or this. And it all starts here. Visit your local cricket store or go online and enter.
Clippers, Warriors, tonight on ABC.
Welcome to the SEC Big 12 Challenge presented by Sonic. Just about set for tip between West Virginia and Texas A&M. Bob Wischusen alongside Fran Fraschilla. And Fran, Bob Huggins has this West Virginia team pressing at 43% of opponent possessions. #1 in the country for the 3rd year in a row. He takes a team that doesn't have a stacked roster of McDonald's All-Americans, has this system, gets it to work.
Absolutely. He is a coaching chameleon because he's won with different styles. In fact, when they beat Kansas the other night, they did it mostly with half-court defense.
Here's Chris Collins running the point and getting trapped already. The former walk-on put on scholarship for the first time this year. And it looks as if this will be the first turnover of the game. They'll say that's a backcourt violation as Collins lost it right at the timeline.
Well, this is a Texas A&M team with great size. Point guard has been an Achilles heel all season, in part because they thought they would have an outstanding recruit, J.J. Caldwell, who is ineligible. He'll play next year.
Wide open, knocking it down.
And here comes that press. Adrian, one of the keys, so active, smart, knows it. He knows it like he breathes.
Elijah Macon only averages 5 points a game. He's got the game's first 2. Williams steps back. Line drive 2 won't go. Javon Carter with the rebound, and he'll bring it up.
What makes this West Virginia team better than I think they've been in a couple of years, really good in the half court on offense. Shooting it better, they don't turn it over.
Nathan Adrian hits a 3. And here comes the press.
And Adrian is as important a player to West Virginia as any player in the country on a good team.
Williams sets up a line drive three that goes down for Admon Gilder, who has played all 40 minutes of the last 2 A&M games and played 39 minutes the game before that.
Yeah, been coming off just a brilliant performance at Ole Miss the other night, Wednesday night. He's not really a point guard, but he has to handle the ball a lot.
He had 22 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists in that win. At three from the corner is buried by Issa Ahmad, who had 27 in the midweek win against Kansas.
There's that pressure now. It's random. They trap randomly. They'll leave their man a double team, and you don't know when it's coming.
That hit the side of the backboard. Back tap, though, nicely by Tyler Davis. Williams spins, leans, off balance, offensive rebound, and that is where Texas A&M gets the job done. Tyler Davis is number 1 in the SEC in offensive rebounds. Williams is number 7 in the SEC in offensive rebounds.
Well, Tyler Davis is really hard to handle, and not so much for the athleticism, but because he's a technician inside. Really knows how to play low post offense.
Rocha Morelos with the rebound.
Now, I'll be interested to see where the double teams come.
It came there. Gilder can't beat it. Offensive rebound, Tyler Davis. And he gets that soft one to roll through.
Exactly. You know, Williams is the guy that NBA teams are excited about, but Tyler Davis is really the straw that stirs that Aggie drink right now.
Shot clock under 10. And a takeaway. Gilder jumped the passing lane and lays it in. The 5 first points scored by West Virginia now answered with a 9-3 run for Texas A&M, and they've got the lead.
And a good start by Texas A&M. Billy Kennedy told us he was going to throw caution to the wind today. More important that they're ready for Tuesday night at Vandy, but this is a good test for a young team.
Daxter Miles sets up a wide open look, and that one goes down for Issa Ahmad.
Now, speaking of young players, Ahmad, only a sophomore, has continued to make jumps and improvement. Watch Adrian.
10-second violation.
10-second violation. There's a timeout on the court.
Pretty good start on the road for Billy Kennedy's squad. They've turned it over a couple of times, but neck and neck with West Virginia. Welcome back to West Virginia. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla, just underway in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And already the West Virginia press has produced a couple of turnovers and some offense for the Mountaineers.
Well, exactly, Bob. And we talk about press Virginia. It's man-to-man, and you never know when the double is coming. Here's a great example. Watch Adrian. He starts to come. They never even have to trap Gilder in the backcourt, and they still get a 10-second violation. And it's amazing when you talk about Carter and Adrian. These guys have been in the system for 3 years now. And they understand the press, when to trap, when to back off as well as anybody. Picture a guy like Devin McCarty from the Patriots, who's been in that Patriot defensive system for a while now. He understands everything about it. That's how these two guys are.
Now a little 2-3 zone here for Texas A&M off the timeout. Adrian left alone for a moment at the elbow.
You know,
shot clock under 10.
Yeah, but you see the patience they have on offense.
Canate lays it in off the miss.
And it's interesting, Bob. They're not as good an offensive rebounding team as they were in the past, because they make more shots than they have in the past.
Collins gets a step, sets up Williams. Hello, and the foul. Robert Williams. That's a way to beat press Virginia. And that's a great job by Collins to get it up the sideline and give Williams a chance for a dunk.
And what's interesting about this is the Aggie team, they want Robert Williams to run down the middle of the court, and we call it rim-to-rim running, but he's so good when he runs the wing because he can catch lobs and then finish like that. This young man has a 7'5" wingspan. And right now, there's a little pressure by Texas A&M, but you saw the athleticism.
Tariq Phillip has come on, replacing Javon Carter, at least for the time being.
Little 1-3-1 now with Williams at the top, and they're causing some havoc.
Texas A&M looking like West Virginia. Phillip ends up with a wide open three. Offensive rebound, Kanate.
Kanate, we talk about Williams, but Kanate, a freshman, he's going to be terrific here over his 4 years.
Adrian may have stepped on the sideline. So a West Virginia turnover.
And there's that wingspan we talk about, 7'4", maybe even a little longer, but 6'10" frame. And he played really well early in the year at the Wooden Legacy. That was his coming out party.
Traveling on Tyler Davis.
You know, it's going to be interesting with Williams because, in my mind, he's probably going to go between 12 and 18 as a draft pick, but it's all on potential. You know, it's the equivalent of a kid in Louisiana throwing 96 miles an hour in high school. You know he's not ready for the big leagues, but you still want to get your hands on him.
There's Williams with that 7'4" wingspan, knocking it out of bounds. He averages 2.5 blocks per game, second best in the SEC. And tonight's NBA Saturday primetime game on ABC, 8:30 Eastern. It's the Clippers and the Warriors from Oracle. Coverage tips with NBA Countdown at 8. Always streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. The biggest games of the season with the biggest stars of the NBA every Saturday night. At 3 off the mark. Tavon Myers couldn't hit. Back the other way comes J.C. Hampton. Gilder pulls up, knocks down a mid-range two.
Remember, Bob, this Aggie team is playing without DJ Hogue, an outstanding sophomore back home nursing a toe injury. They would normally start 4 sophomores and a freshman. This is a very young team and a good test for them on the road. Little 2-3 zone now, so that's the 3rd different defense they've played so far.
And it creates a turnover. A little too hot to handle on the pass from Tavon Myers. Edmond Gilder with a pass and a tough one to handle for Robert Williams. Issa Ahmad is fouled. Man, that's a pretty good foul by Trosha Morelos. And Billy Kennedy told us last night, and you would think in the middle of your conference schedule having to go on the road, short week against a team like West Virginia, this would be a really tough assignment. He said, no, this is a great opportunity for my team and its development to experience something that we're probably not going to experience any other game in our season in the SEC.
Yeah, when you play West Virginia, who presses most of the game, it's like wearing a 20-pound weight vest. You go back to SEC play, you're not going to see this kind of pressure. And you know what's interesting? Next year they're going to play in the State Farm Armed Forces Classic, these two teams, at Ramstein Air Force Base. So he's getting a little taste of the press right now, and he's going to be really good next year. Great recruiting class. This sophomore class will be back.
Isles got the deflection at midcourt. Second attempt rolls off the rim for Tariq Phillip. It's batted around, and coming out of the pile with the basketball is Tavario Miller. Out of control and turning it over is Edmond Gilder. That's 6 turnovers already for Texas A&M in an early tie ball game.
And that's the tricky part. Watch Gilder lose his balance now. He's trying to attack, and you know, they cause those type of turnovers with this pressure.
How do you prepare in the middle of your conference season for what really is almost basketball's version of the triple option, right? Like this is trying in the middle of a football season where you're playing conventional teams and Navy shows up on your schedule. That's got to be a very difficult assignment for a coaching staff and a scouting group.
Well, here's how you look at it. When you play West Virginia, it almost seems on defense like they're playing with 7 guys. So you practice 5-on-7 sometimes. And it's the overload theory. You make practice as tougher than you think the game will be.
Right.
The problem is, Bob, as we've said many times, it's so hard to simulate this kind of pressure, the length, the you know, the fouling at times.
Lamont West knocks down a triple, but put West Virginia back on top and allow them to set their press up again.
And I love Lamont West. A lot of people don't know about this kid. He will be a star here at West Virginia by the time he leaves.
Williams steps in, bullets a pass underneath, and Miller has it knocked away. But on the end line, on the dribble, was Dax Miles, so it stays with Texas A&M. Yeah, I always look at the practices, the scouting report moments in the shoot-arounds when you take a bunch of walk-ons and put them in practice jerseys that resemble the numbers of the opposition's players. Well, 5 walk-ons are not going to be able in practice to simulate what you're going to see when you see West Virginia's press. So that's an interesting technique. Put more players out there than you're actually able to use in a game.
And I always try to make practice tougher than the game anyway. And there's Gilder, who I really like. But what you do is you take some of your starters off the starting unit because they're your most athletic guys, and you put them on the press team, and you make it even harder for the remaining starters to do that and simulate the press.
Gilder in double figures already for the 4th consecutive game. We barely played 8.5 minutes. Shot clock down to 7. Carter gives it up. Tariq Phillip is fouled with 4 on the shot clock on a reach-in by J.C. Hampton. Tied at 16 as we begin the day in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Wait to watch that one later, as right now Joe Lunardi in his latest bracketology has that game basically lining up as a matchup for a 1 seed between Kansas and Kentucky. And things right now, not all roses, Fran Fraschilla, for Bill Self and Lawrence.
Yeah, major distraction. They have suspended Carlton Bragg indefinitely. There is a rape investigation that has to do with McCarthy Hall. Right now, the players on the Kansas roster are just, at this point, witnesses. So Bill Self said it is a distraction going into this game, and it's not a good time to have that kind of distraction when you're going in a Rupp Arena and taking on a team that's very, very good. Still should be a great matchup.
Obviously, anything on the court pales in comparison to the importance of what's happening off the court, but at least on the court, without Udoka Azubuike, who's gone for the rest of the season, now you lose Carlton Bragg. Landon Lucas is the only, as Miles puts up a quick one and knocks it down for West Virginia, he's the only big man that I think Bill Self would have thought of at the start of the season as being a regular part of his rotation that's even available to him.
And they've really struggled guarding big guys as well. You know, they've given up a number of big games to Yante Maton, Georgia 30, Radiansky from TCU 28, 27 to Issa Ahmad Tuesday night.
Sweet jump hook on the baseline for Tavario Miller on a possession that looked like it was about to come apart at the seams for the Aggies, and they end up tying the game again.
Well, they've played very well, Bob. They've got 7 turnovers, but I like their poise overall. They're getting good scoring opportunities. They've got some inside presence.
Brandon Watkins. Soft touch.
Brandon Watkins.
And that basket allows West Virginia to set up that pressure. And watch Adrian. He's just going to hang around. He's guarding the point guard. When does he trap?
Collins fumbles it at midcourt. And that is another Aggies turnover.
And what they create, besides the traps and throwing the ball away, is they create indecision with the press because it's random. So you never know when Adrian, playing free safety, is going to leave his man in double. And then, Bob, a lot of times we see him guard the point guard in the backcourt. Just has a sixth sense for this defense.
And for a team with a short bench, and A&M has a short bench, how much does it wear you out by the time you get to the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game playing against this press all afternoon?
We always say pressure is cumulative, especially when you have 10 guys playing 10 minutes or more.
Phillip knocks it down. Tariq Phillip with a soft jumper. He averages about 9 per game. And we already, in the first 10 minutes or so, have 8 different Mountaineers that have scored at least a basket. Collins for 3. In and out. Dax Miles lost his balance, turned it over. Collins finds the trailer. Morelos off the mark. And an offensive rebound in the hands of Tavario Miller, but tapped out by Javon Carter. So it will stay with Texas A&M. Collins and Miller sit down as Robert Williams and J.C. Hampton both return. Also going to the bench is Tariq Phillip and Dax Miles for West Virginia. Tyler Davis, just a little too strong.
Carter's been quiet offensively, but West Virginia's offense still moving the ball really well. Little zone now by the Aggies. You notice, Bob, they won't take bad shots.
Ahmad from the free throw line, fouled on the wrist by Admon Gilder.
The misnomer about West Virginia is that because you press and create chaos on defense, that you have to be chaotic on offense, but that's never been Bob Huggins' style. Motion offense, 5 guys touching it.
For a team that plays this frantic pace, that forces more turnovers, scores more points off turnovers, #1 in America as well in steals, are you surprised that they don't turn it over even 12 times a game themselves? They're at 11.6 turnovers per game.
Yep.
For the pace they play. Now Adrian grabs an offensive rebound.
Not surprised, because that's Bob Huggins' style. It's always been. On the offensive end, they've always been good about moving the ball. Watch this.
Williams can't hang from the
he
rim
had a
as he
chance.
missed the alley-oop attempt. Adrian had turned it over at one end, ends up with the loose ball at the other. That three goes down for Issa Ahmad, who's been red hot. Again, he had 27 in the win over Kansas. This, an 8-0 West Virginia run. Hampton leans in with the left hand.
And the West Virginia bench wanted to travel. J.C. Hampton stepped through nicely and used the window. The transfer from Lipscomb, a fifth-year senior, has given him some solid minutes in that backcourt. The SEC has 6 of the youngest teams in the country, including Texas A&M, so the future is bright.
Issa Ahmad spins and draws a foul. So free throws for Issa Ahmad when we come back. West Virginia by 6. Again, this is game 1 of a long day of basketball in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Bob Wischusen and Fran Fraschilla back in Morgantown. Texas A&M has been carried by their lead guard, Admon Gilder. West Virginia, Fran, plenty of balance. They've got 8 different players that have scored at least 1 basket. Under 8 minutes to go here in the first half of a game that's been close throughout.
Well, I've been impressed with Texas A&M. We know their troubles with turnovers this year. They have 9, but they're in this game because they've been efficient offensively. And for West Virginia, Bob, you wonder how they're going to bounce back after the emotional win on Tuesday night. I'd say the energy level is good. I don't think it's at the elite level they play with. But as I mentioned earlier, what impressed me about the win over Kansas was they backed off the press, they took Frank Mason out of the game, and they really got it done in the half court. And right now, you have to think that Javon Carter, who has guarded Mason, Juwan Evans, London Perrantes, is as good a defensive guard as we watch him as there is in college basketball.
That jumper goes down for J.C. Hampton. And that cuts the lead in half. It's now a 3-point advantage for West Virginia.
Yeah, the 40% three-point shooter giving Billy Kennedy a lift off that bench. Watch the inside game right here. Little triangle offense with the 3 bigs. Well, they have Ahmad on the mismatch.
Shot clock down to 6. Tavon Myers fouled with 4 on the shot clock. On the floor, says Bert Smith. That foul once again will go against J.C. Hampton. That's his second.
Foul number 5.
You can see not many fouls have been called so far. Texas A&M has been called for 5, so they have 1 more to give. West Virginia has fouled once in the first 13 minutes as Macon comes up short.
That's a miracle.
Now for a team that plays as physically and presses as much as they do, as Williams misses another lob to have only 1 foul.
Well,
Davon Myers behind the back and the finish.
He's been a really nice addition. Last year, he was the 5th guard on a team that played 4, but this year he's really started to understand his role.
Second foul called on West Virginia, saved a dunk as Tyler Davis will go to the line.
Yeah, Davon Myers, he was a former JUCO scoring leader out of Williston State in North Dakota, and this year, after a season in the program, really understands his role, Bob. I'll tell you, he was the catalyst a couple weeks ago down in Austin in a game that went right to the wire. He had 18 and was a big factor in that Mountaineer win over the Longhorns.
You mentioned his scoring prowess at Williston State, 25 a game 2 years ago, and 9 different players have now scored at least a bucket for West Virginia. They're led by Issa Ahmad, who's got 10.
There is no player on this West Virginia roster that if they suffered an injury and missed 3 games, and I'm talking about Carter and Adrian as well, that the level of play would drop off that dramatically.
Even with Carter, if he were to miss time defensively against the other point guards they have to face in the Big 12?
Absolutely. Less so than most teams, Bob.
Ahmad blocks, gets it back. Tyler Davis blocked the first attempt, got a steal, then gave it right back. But then West Virginia has turned it over. So it's a ping-pong game between these two teams. It goes back to A&M.
Look at that block by Tyler Davis. Tell you what, they're pushing it. Not afraid to push it.
Offensive putback by Tyler Davis.
And again, Bob, you know the NBA scouts love Robert Williams' long-term potential. But in the SEC, when you talk to coaches, Tyler Davis is a difficult matchup because he carves out space. He's got a great touch, and you saw the timing right there.
Foul called in the lane. And Tom O'Neill, I think, has that one against Tyler Davis.
What I love about this Aggie team, especially when Hogue is playing, the 4 sophomores, to me, none of them are one and done or two and done guys. So they're effective players already, and I think they're going to be around for 2 more years after this. You had a great recruiting class coming in and coming off that Sweet 16 a year ago where they lost some really good players. Future's bright for Aggie basketball.
There's a bucket going down for Javon Carter. His first field goal.
Well, we talk about the great point guards in the Big 12, and there are a lot of them, but I think this guy kind of gets shortchanged sometimes. Look at that. Collins has struggled today.
He seems to be the one player for A&M thrown most by the press of anyone they have on the floor.
And he's a former walk-on. He's had some big minutes for Billy Kennedy, who's got a lot of confidence in him. Started a bunch of games, 7. But he's been rattled by that pressure, and a lot of times it hasn't been any trapping.
Carter sets up Adrian. Offensive rebound, Kanate. The jump hook is good.
Oh, I'll tell you what. And how good is this kid? And how good will West Virginia be next year with Kanate and West and Ahmad and some of those young guards?
Collins traveled before the foul by Tavon Myers, and Billy Kennedy can't believe it. 12 turnovers for Texas A&M.
Watch his feet now as he picks up the ball and he just hops. And again, Collins, who's a solid kid, coach's son, played good minutes this year, but struggling with that pressure, and really hasn't been trapped very often. That's why I say, you know, the indecision of when the traps come is really bothersome.
Ahmad. Rebounded by Davis.
No, it wasn't over and back. You got to have 2 feet in the ball. Crowd one over and back.
Collins sets up Hampton. That's off the mark. Nathan Adrian pulls down the rebound.
Now, this West Virginia team has 3 losses in conference play, and I think that speaks to just how good the league has been. They were playing desperate Tuesday night when they beat Kansas.
Javon Carter steps back. Another rebound for Davis, but has his pocket picked by Konate. Down the lane is Javon Carter. Zach Konate with a quick steal of the basketball creates the easy 2.
You know, when I saw them practice in October, Zach Konate reminds me of a young Al Horford. Now, he's not as good, but he's got that same build. He looks like a tank. Only a freshman. Watch Konate. He's going to come up with the steal. Pokes it loose, part of West Virginia defense. And then Javon Carter, who's as good as there is and doesn't get the credit for it.
ESPN.
Want to have fun with Fonz? Hey, Fonz, how would you handle this press if they came at you in waves? What would Wafonso Ellis do? I like it.
Shot clock down to 4. That miss from Robert Williams as Fran and Fonz share some basketball analysis. Next opportunity to go back and forth with the studio. I'd like to know who Adnan believes is going to win Best Cinematography at the Oscars at the end of the month. Carter thought about a 3.
You see the patience. 14 field goals today, 10 assists.
And now a West Virginia turnover as Issa Ahmad slips it out of bounds.
Changing the press a little bit now. Now Adrian is the center fielder.
Chris Collins has 4 turnovers against this pressure. This time weaves his way through traffic and puts it right at the front of the rim, but Robert Williams couldn't finish. Fast break basket at the other end for Nathan Adrian.
Great pass by Miles, just a touch pass.
That last play by Chris Collins, he did everything right, and that's one he needs Robert Williams to finish.
Yep, and he finishes as more often than not. Nice job by Collins. Gets into the high paint. Williams just can't come up with it. And watch this, not even in his hands for a split second. And a nice find by Miles, and that's set up because Adrian runs rim to rim.
Tyler Davis lost it. Ahmad has the height advantage and goes around Collins, gives it up. Easy bucket at the side of the rim by Brandon Watkins. Timeout called by A&M. We'll step aside for 30 seconds and come right back to Morgantown, West Virginia, opening up a 12-point lead.
That damn Max Kellerman, I know he's going to be smiling tomorrow.
Catch those vapors, Stephen A.
The debate starts here. First Take, now on ESPN, weekdays at 10. ESPN.
A teaching tape offensively a moment ago for West Virginia.
Exactly, working in tandem. When watch Ahmad, he goes to the middle, Watkins comes under. Excellent job right here. He goes middle, Watkins comes behind, fills the open spot, he makes it. If Ahmad Bob would have gone baseline, then Watkins would have came to the middle of the rim. That's what you call working in tandem. 2 big guys, excellent offense.
Robert Williams, by the way, at the other end, averaging 11 points per game. He's only 1 for 6 here in the first half and has missed a couple of alley-oops at the rim.
There's that pressure.
A&M hasn't scored in 4 minutes. Shot clock down to 5. Collins leans in with the left hand, misses. Tapped out of bounds by Tyler Davis. So this game's starting to get away from the Aggies a bit. This, Fran, feels like a very big 2 minutes going into halftime for Texas A&M.
Absolutely. You mentioned the lack of depth by the Aggies. No DJ Hogue today. And for West Virginia, I mean, they got more. It's like a clown car. You know, you open up the door and they just keep coming out. They just play so many guys and they're comfortable.
Carter knocks down another three.
Wow. He gives you everything. You know, we talk about Frank Mason being a National Player of the Year, but toe-to-toe, I'll tell you, Carter's gotten the best of them.
Steal by Carter. Issa Ahmad hangs, can't hit it. Basket interference. Brandon Watkins went up and touched it while it was on the rim.
Watch the hustle from behind. That's what we call a tip from behind by Javon Carter after knocking down the three. And we get to see great guards every day in this league, the Big 12. Frank Mason, one of the best in the country. You know, you got Evans, LeConte, Jordan Woodard, but Javon Carter may be a little underrated.
Offensive rebound, Tyler Davis. Lost it. Gilder is fouled. Got it right on the nose.
Take a look, Bob. These are the guys he's gone toe-to-toe with this year. And we're not talking about chopped liver right here. Mason and Parantes, as good a point guards as there are in the country. Evans as well. Manu LeConte. Unfortunately, Chris Collins has gotten a little taste of that today. He'll be better for it. That's that 20-pound weight jacket I talked about, right? Chris Collins is going to go back into SEC play Tuesday night and feel pretty good when he's guarding Riley LaChance and vice versa.
I think the vice versa part's the most important.
Yes.
Offensive rebound again by Tyler Davis, so a fresh shot clock. Chase Carlton has come on for the first time, just trying to buy some minutes before halftime and give Collins a rest. Davis, long jump hook won't go. Offensive rebound, but a miss again. Point blank from Robert Williams.
Let me tell you something, Bob. NBA scouts don't care about that miss. Billy Kennedy cares more about it. The way he quick jumped right there was unbelievable.
So West Virginia will call the timeout that you can't take with you to the second half with 31 seconds to go before halftime. Without a point, 5.5 minutes for A&M. And this game, again, is very close to getting away from them. A pair of improbable runs have brought us a Roger and Rafa in the men's championship match at the Australian Open. It's live from Melbourne tomorrow at 3 a.m. Eastern on ESPN with a special encore presentation of the match at 9 a.m. on ESPN. Can also be seen streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. The 9th time that Federer and Nadal will meet in a Grand Slam title match.
But Federer has never beaten Nadal outside of Wimbledon. So to do it tomorrow is going to be a challenge.
It is that kind of broad spectrum information that I love when we do these games.
Oh, no
I'm looking
question.
forward to you breaking down the NHL in the second half.
There's that 1-3-1 zone. Williams at the top. It was a bit of a nuisance early in the game, but West Virginia in a nice groove right now offensively.
Shot clock winding down. Not
Beatles
wasting any time.
Beatles in town.
Is James Bolden.
The Beatles in town. They snuck him in. Young man.
Seconds to go before halftime.
Yep, he redshirted a year ago with the knee injury.
Gilder with 5 seconds. Wide open is Williams. Hits the jumper. So A&M ends the first half with a bucket, but they also end the first half down by 16 to a team that gets you into a frantic style, and they fell victim to it several times.
The defense was good, Bob, but the offense equally impressive. Really took care of the ball, took good shots.
Only one bucket for A&M over the last 6 minutes. Time for the halftime report. Adnan Virk back in the studio with LaFonso Ellis. Adnan. 45-29 lead over Texas A&M. Just about set for the start of the second half. Bob Wischusen here with Fran Fraschilla in Morgantown. And Fran, they call him Press Virginia for a reason. 14 first half turnovers for Texas A&M. Again, a big first half for West Virginia, keyed by their defense.
Absolutely. The formula is turnovers and offensive rebounds. 14 turnovers you mentioned, Bob, caused the havoc on the defensive end. It's led to more scoring opportunities. On the offensive end, when they do miss a shot, and by the way, they're shooting 58% today, they manufacture extra field goal attempts with offensive rebounding. On the course of the season, they're averaging 12 more field goal attempts than their opponents because of turnovers and offensive reboundings. The formula is working today.
And the 14 turnovers besting the 12 field goals made by Texas A&M. And for A&M, they need better from their big guys. Robert Williams hit a jumper just before halftime. He's 2 of 8 from the field. And Tyler Davis at 3 of 6 from the field. So 5 field goals between those 2 players. The height advantage, the size advantage, that's where you would think if A&M is going to have a chance to pull off a comeback would be their strength, but they need their bigs to be better.
Well, you can't be effective inside if you can't find somebody getting them the ball inside.
And Miles gets West Virginia off to a good start here in the second half as he hits a 3.
These guys are shooting 60% right now from the field, Bob.
There's an offensive rebound for Robert Williams, but it's knocked out, so it will stay with A&M. Aggies have won back-to-back games in 3 of their last 5 after starting off the SEC 0-3. And again, Robert Williams right now is number 15 on Chad Ford's big board as he knocks one down. So he's a player that, although he is just a pup, and has so much development to go through, right now is, by many prognosticators, looked at as a mid-first round NBA draft choice.
He's going to have a tough decision because he's going to spend a lot of time in the D-League if he comes out, but obviously guaranteed money in the middle of the first round. On the other hand, if he comes back next year, they're going to be a top 10 team.
Dexter Miles hits another 3.
We talked about it, Bob. This is the best offense Bob Huggins has had probably since the Final Four team. And it's no longer just the defense.
Morelos rattles home a triple.
Well, he can do that. That's a young man that took time to get eligible at A&M, and he's had a good, solid 3 years at a Cartagena, Colombia. Too much right there.
And so Trocha Morelos is called for the foul.
Aggies foul on number 10, Tony Trocha Morelos, his 3rd. Team foul.
That's his 3rd.
Yeah. Nathan Adrian. Trocha Morelos got the worst of that situation.
Javon Carter draws a foul on the drive. Well, this West Virginia team, the first team since Indiana back in 2011-2012 with wins over number 1 and number 2 in the same season. And they had that bad week and 2 losses that could happen to anyone. I mean, we've seen Oklahoma several times this season as Issa Ahmad lines one up. That's blocked in the corner. Takes it to the basket, gets it blocked again, but out of bounds, so it stays with West Virginia. That's a talented team when Jordan Woodard's on the floor, certainly for Oklahoma. And then going to Kansas State, there's no shame in losing at Bramlage. So to bounce back with the win that they got against Kansas, how good is this team right now, and how good could they be in March?
Let's put it in perspective. They have 4 losses by a total of 11 points. I mean, they're 11 points from being 20-0. And we know how good Kansas State is. They've got a tough game today at Tennessee, and Oklahoma with a great test at home against a ranked Florida team. That is not going to be an easy game for the Gators in Norman.
Lob, and there's a finish by Tyler Davis. Admon Gilder has put, along with Chris Collins, several up near the rim, but Davis and Williams have struggled to finish. Not that time, so A&M trying to crawl their way back in this game.
And right now, if you're Billy Kennedy's team, a lot of basketball left. Just get it to single figures if you can. This is a little triangle offense designed to get the ball inside.
Good hands by Tyler Davis. Shot clock down to 7. Javon Carter is going to have to force one up. Shot clock violation. And a lot of spirit from Tyler Davis. That was a good defensive stand for Texas A&M. And coming up this afternoon on ESPN, 2 more SEC Big 12 Challenge games. Fran just mentioned it. The Gators in Norman to take on Oklahoma, followed by Texas and Georgia at 4. So 2 more real good games heading up towards the matchup between Kansas and Kentucky. All those games streaming live on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN as A&M has to call a timeout in the face of that West Virginia pressure.
See the league stars shine one more time in a return to the traditional AFC versus NFC format. The NFL Pro Bowl, tomorrow at 7:50 on ESPN.
Programs in the history of the sport. Run, baby, run. What a capper for a great SEC Big 12 Challenge.
This is going to be a blockbuster.
The 2 winningest programs in the history of college basketball meet at 6:15, part of the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And according to our own Joe Lunardi, this is his bracketology. Of course, the numbers you see next to each of these teams, the projected seeds, according to Joey Brackets, if the tournament were to start tomorrow. And Kansas and Baylor would both be 1 seed. 7 teams out of the 10 in the Big 12 right now, Joe Lunardi says, would make the field.
Yes, and you hope that at some point they don't knock each other off, but I think that's very legitimate right now. Big 12 has won 82% of its non-conference games this year. The RPI.
Who else do you think from the SEC could work their way into the field that might not be there yet?
Well, a lot of these teams have played themselves out of contention, Georgia being one of them. A&M, another team that we thought had high hopes early in the year. They're 11-8.
A lot of basketball still to be played between now and the beginning of March.
No doubt about it. We're talking about 2/3 of a conference race left for all these teams. That Oklahoma-Florida game is going to be fascinating to me because of the young talent that Oklahoma has.
Morelos lost it on the way up, regathered. There's the work on the offensive glass from Williams and Davis, but neither could find the loose ball.
And the Florida-Oklahoma game will be, I think that's Dickie V and Brent Musburger. Brent, 2 more games before a well-deserved retirement. We had fun in this place. We saw some great games in WVU Coliseum the last couple of years.
Watkins with the bucket plus the foul. Chance for a 3-point play for Brandon Watkins.
And this is another great story. Brandon Watkins had ACL surgery a couple years ago. Really didn't come back to the form that Bob Huggins wanted. They pretty much challenged him last summer to figure things out, or else he wasn't going to get any playing time. And the simple fact is, Bob, he did figure it out. Started a bunch of games, and you look at that front line right now with Kanate and Adrian, Watkins, Macon. That is Ahmad, Issa Ahmad. That is a deep front line.
And they create the turnover. Adrian. Slipping inside Issa Ahmad. Set up Carter, but Carter will use some clock.
Yep, he had the big guy on him, didn't want to shoot over him. And that's a veteran. Wanted to make sure they got a great shot or a better opportunity.
Dax Miles off to Adrian with 10 to shoot. Issa Ahmad. And the rebound falls to Robert Williams. Here comes Chris Collins. He will attack, gives it up. Morelos pinned by Issa Ahmad. Possession arrow will keep it with Texas A&M. But Ahmad with a good block to avoid a layup by Trocha Morelos.
Well, they've got length everywhere. They come at you in waves. You think you got an easy one? Not with Press Virginia. Get it up there strong, big fella.
Welcome back to the SEC Big 12 Challenge presented by Sonic. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla, kicking off the day here in Morgantown. 8+ hours of coverage, 10 games across our ESPN networks, and some really intriguing matchups. And Fred, how about some matchups that jump out to you besides the ones that we've mentioned? Obviously, Florida, Oklahoma, very interesting game. Yep. And of course, everyone's talking about Kansas and Kentucky. What other teams are you interested after we're done getting back to the hotel, clicking on and seeing how they play in these cross-conference rivalry games?
Tennessee's got a really young team. They just knocked off Kentucky at home. Kansas State has a really young team and a challenge to go to Knoxville. I think Kansas State is one of the underrated teams in the country. And then after that game, I'm going to be sitting in my hotel room in Pittsburgh watching Kansas and Kentucky, and I'll see you Monday night in Norman for Bedlam. Watch out. I love that kid, West.
Couldn't answer the three by Admon Gilder. Here's a run out for Collins. Sets up Gilder from the corner. Back-to-back threes for Admon Gilder. And Texas A&M's not going away. They're down by 12. As Gilder's up to 16 for the game. He's made 4 threes.
And a nice decision by Chris Collins on the break. He had the lob to Williams. That hadn't been very effective today, and he found Gilder.
Soft touch rolls through for Tavon Myers.
He knows how to score, Bob. He's really accepted his role. When he came to Morgantown, he came in September, so he didn't have a summer to prepare like most of the recruits do. So he really wasn't a factor as a junior.
Nice curl jumper knocked down by J.C. Hampton. You know, Texas A&M had 14 turnovers in the first half. They only have 1 so far in the second half. So in 6 minutes, working to stay in the game and also not giving any freebies to West Virginia. And there's a rebound by Robert Williams and an outlet to Gilder.
Numbers.
Gilder lobs it. Unable to finish it and losing the basketball at the same time was Tavario Miller. But it will stay with Texas A&M.
Boy, they have not converted those lobs today. Take a look. You know, we know Williams usually goes up and gets it. You got to catch that ball, Tavario, with 2 hands, my man. Gilder trying to feed the big guy, get him an easy one.
I don't know if this is an official stat that we can look up, but
what is that?
Williams is 3 for 10 from the field.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say 3 for 10 on lobs.
They might be. They might be less.
Yeah.
That was the stat I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is an official NCAA statistic. Lowest completion percentage of alley-oop attempts in a game.
I don't think so.
Texas A&M's got to be up there because they have missed at least 4 or 5 opportunities at the rim on what looked to be pretty good lobs thrown by their guards.
You'd be amazed at how many teams work on the lob pass. We know Kansas does. We've seen them do it. Sometimes you think it's automatic that you throw it up there, the big guy's going to catch it.
And this time Tyler Davis loses it out of bounds. So that's just the second A&M turnover here in the second half.
In the first half, Bob, those 14 turnovers, you ready for this? They turned it over on 38% of their possessions. Now, the average during a regular game during the season is 16%. So it's even better than West Virginia's percentage of turning teams over at 30%.
Miles too strong from 3. And Davis has the rebound. Well, West Virginia forces a turnover on 30%. And there's another turnover as Tavario Miller traveled trying to catch it. No team turns their opponent over at a higher rate than the 29.8% of opponent possessions by West Virginia. Chase Carlton comes back in for Chris Collins.
Sophomore from Austin, Texas. Going to get an opportunity to handle some of this pressure. And the most important thing about those turnovers combined with the offensive rebounding is the number of more field goals they get than their opponents. And I mentioned earlier, 12 more a game.
Issa Ahmad fouled on a reach-in by Admon Gilder. That's Gilder's 3rd.
And to put that in perspective, Bob, can you imagine if the game ended at 60 all and you said, okay, West Virginia, you've got 12 more possessions and the other team has none. And that's why they're so dangerous.
Ahmad fouled on the block by Tyler Davis. 5 team fouls now on Texas A&M. And that's the second on Davis.
This young man, one of 2 players on the roster that were top 100 level players. Elijah Macon as well, both from Ohio. Issa Ahmad from Cleveland, right in Bob Huggins' wheelhouse.
2 years ago, we had Issa Ahmad as number 45 on our ESPN 100. And as a freshman, he averaged 5 points and about 2.5 rebounds. But he had some talent in front of him. Now that he has seen an increase in playing time, 12 points and nearly 4.5 rebounds a game.
And I think from the coaching staff's perspective, there's still more in terms of intensity that he can give this team. A lot of this is being done on pure talent.
He's now 3 of 8 at the line. There's a 3, bottoming out for J.C. Hampton.
Well, he's been solid today. He had 1,200 career points at Lipscomb in his career before utilizing that graduate transfer rule.
Hampton's got 10. That's his second 3, and the lead is down to 10. Ahmad, a little too strong. Weak side rebound by Adrian.
No surprise there. Adrian walled his man off and sealed him inside.
Carter with a step back, and he knocks it down.
That is the perfect example of what we mean by an extra possession. Adrian sealed his man in, buried him inside, got the rebound, found Carter. Nice play.
Gilder allows the flyby. Can't hit the 3. It's an air ball. And Kanate saves it. Dax Miles, a little too strong from 3, and Ahmad knocks it out.
It's all about extra possessions for West Virginia. The press, the offensive rebound, new possession, and then you give it to Javon Carter. Step back, whoop! He's good. Better than people think.
Two seed, but they're having a rough week.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Georgia Tech, Josh Pastner is on his way to be an ACC Coach of the Year. They throttled Florida State at home Wednesday night. Really impressive. He got away with a travel there.
And scored.
But
Tyler
that's okay.
Davis able to maneuver inside. So right now that lead is exactly where you said that if you're Texas A&M, you had to whittle it down to. Now, with still half of the second half to play, can they get over the top now that they've got it down to 10?
And they figured out the pressure defense, I think. As you mentioned, haven't turned it over very much and been effective in the low post. I mean, Tyler Davis is as good a low post scorer as there is in the SEC. That's off.
Off to the corner goes the Carter miss, and it ends up with J.C. Hampton.
Now the question is, can you don't go crazy?
Well, Hampton fouled by Adrian in transition.
Yep.
It's only the third team foul on West Virginia here in the second half, and the second on Adrian.
And this is where size can be a factor for A&M right now. When they don't turn it over, Bob, and they got a chance to get the ball inside to particularly Davis, they're in pretty good shape. It's like having good tight ends and wide receivers and not having a quarterback.
Not sure why you're looking at a Jet fan when you say that.
We suffer together, my friend.
Tonight at 6:15 Eastern on ESPN, the two winningest programs in college basketball history square off in really the signature game of the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Kansas, Kentucky. Rough. It's a sonic blockbuster. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN as Nathan Adrian just picked up his third.
Let me give those Kentucky guards a heads up. Get the ball inside to Bam Adebayo, who's shooting almost 70% from the field. You see the two winningest programs in the history of college basketball. Adolph Rupp, the legendary coach at Kentucky, played basketball for Phog Allen at Kansas. You think about that great Kansas coaching lineage. Bill Self on his way to being the 5th Kansas coach to go to the Hall of Fame. He's been nominated, maybe not this year, but soon enough.
Carter fouled on a reach-in by Chase Carlton.
John Calipari always tells the story about being a grad assistant at Kansas. Well, by the way, he met his wife, Ellen, working in the athletic department. And John said his job was running the training table. He would say to the players, hey, you want any more peas? That's how he got his start, working for Larry Brown.
We'll have to start somewhere.
Yep.
Issa Ahmad stumbles but sets up Carter. The long rebound, scrambled for on the deck by Chase Carlton. He covers it up, tries to call timeout. Nope, held ball. According to Brett Smith, and the possession arrow will keep it with West Virginia.
How about Chase Carlton? He's given Billy Kennedy some really good minutes. He's played a total of 41 minutes all season long. Well, they had a walk-on back into Billy Gillespie here. Chris Walker, who turned out to be a heck of a player.
Now Elijah Macon fumbles it out of bounds. Texas A&M down by 8 with a chance to draw closer. They trailed by as many as 20, 30 seconds into the second half. Traveling, though, called in the backcourt as Admon Gilder and Chase Carlton aren't able to beat the pressure, and Carlton turns it over. West Virginia's gone over 2 minutes without a field goal.
And this three-guard lineup, by and large, has been fairly effective for Billy Kennedy, notwithstanding that last turnover. So they've sacrificed a little size.
Issa Ahmad, nice setup, point blank. Elijah Macon can't hit it. Gilder to the goal, fires one up, draws the foul. Admon Gilder will go to the free throw line to see if he can whittle the lead down to 6. Elijah Macon picks up his first.
You and I talked last Monday night about the great high school basketball in the state of Texas. You look at this Aggie team, Gilder, DJ Hogue not playing today, Tyler Davis, all Dallas kids. Gilder, these guys are only sophomores. You know, the heart of this team, they've got a terrific player coming in, and Savion Flagg, who's a ultimate warrior, will fit right in. I mentioned J.J. Caldwell, the point guard, who's sitting out, academically ineligible.
Reach-in foul called on Chase Carlton. It looked like he had a clean deflection on the cut by Javon Carter. Tom O'Neill disagrees.
Here's the cut right there. There's no foul there. That's just good defense.
That's exactly what Billy Kennedy said, and Chase Carlton made the same argument, and instead over the limit now is A&M, so it's a 1-and-1 for a 75% free throw shooter in Javon Carter.
You know, there are some really close calls that you're not sure can go either way, and that one was not close. This young man at the line, Javon Carter, out of a great high school program, Proviso East, home of Doc Rivers. He played for a former player of mine by the name of Dickie Simpkins, who I helped recruit at Providence. Played on Dickie's AAU team. And Dickie told me a couple of years ago he had a sleeper. This guy was not heavily recruited.
Hanging, missing, but finishing Tyler Davis off the Robert Williams miss.
We got a 6-point game, and give the Aggies credit, Bob. They have grinded their way back into this game, and they have neutralized that press defense.
Tariq Phillip floats one home over the outstretched fingertips of Robert Williams.
Remember, Adrian with 3 fouls, not part of that pressure.
Chase Carlton looks pretty comfortable out there handling the basketball against Javon Carter.
Absolutely. Carter, 2-time All Big 12 defensive team.
A miss from Gilder.
Even now, Mountaineers judicious with the ball, look for good shots.
Shot clock under 10. Tariq Phillip to the corner to Carter. He's got a triple.
It makes sense that the guy that's always out here the earliest of any of those West Virginia players buries the 3. Shot a lot of them this morning.
Tyler Davis maneuvers inside, draws another foul. Free throws for Tyler Davis. When we come back, he'll try and cut the lead down to single digits again. Under 8 minutes to go here in Morgantown.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of...
It has been an emotional start to the SEC Big 12 Challenge between Texas A&M and West Virginia. And Billy Kennedy's team at one point down by 20. They cut the lead down to 6. Tyler Davis about to go to the free throw line, and Texas A&M largely has completely flipped the script from the first half to the second half in terms of giving it away to press Virginia.
And when you don't turn it over, they've been pretty good in the half-court offense. Not just Davis inside, but this young man, Admon Gilder, sophomore guard out of Dallas, Texas. Prolific scorer, highly thought of, top 100 player, and continues to grow as a good SEC player, Bob. He's had to play some point guard this year, but he loves to get out and score baskets. He's got 18 against this good defense today of the West Virginia Mountaineers.
And forced to play the off-guard spot consistently with DJ Hogue missing the game with a toe injury. So the second leading scorer for A&M is back in College Station watching as Admon Gilder is forced to carry a big part of the scoring load along with Tyler Davis and Robert Williams.
Well, DJ Hogue is a terrific player. I mean, he's a kid who can play out on the perimeter. He shoots a lot of threes. He's missed the last 2 games, and this is not a knock on him. Their ball movement has been pretty good when they don't turn it over. And I think that he can go to school on that a little bit because there's more weapons on this team. There's a little pressure and it forces a turnover. Yep.
All of a sudden, A&M puts a little press Virginia on West Virginia, and they get a takeaway down by 9 with 7:45 to go.
There's an old adage that I don't really believe in: press a pressing team, because they understand the psychology of the press. And I don't believe that, because West Virginia sees it every day. They ought to be good enough at handling, and that's a turnover right there.
Carlton turned it over. Phillip at the other end with the left hand plus the foul.
Now Tariq Phillip, he's only started 6 games this year, really comfortable coming off the bench as a spark for Bob Huggins. Nice finish right there, drawing the contact.
And for Trosha Morelos, that's his 4th. Tariq Phillip averages a little over 9 points per game. He's up to 7. And Trosha Morelos, the first player with 4. Tyler Davis lost his balance. Back-to-back turnovers for Texas A&M just after, there's the announcer jinx. We praised them for being much cleaner with the basketball in the second half.
Yeah, and that time I thought as they pick up their 20th turnover that he drove into traffic. That's one of those plays as a post player. Throw it out and then repost. When you repost and you throw it out, Bob, the defender that is guarding you catches his breath, and you're able to get deeper position and don't have to drive it into traffic. Two-three zone now by the Aggies. They've mixed their defenses today.
Bender left alone, gives it up, and the jump hook a little too strong. Bender on the offensive glass. Can't score it, and it ends up with Admon Gilder. Trosha Morelos, air ball.
See the patience. They move the ball. They're looking to get it inside. They've got good size right now, West Virginia.
Ahmad with a nice shot fake across the lane, sets up Phillip. He allows a flyby. He gives it up. Issa Ahmad a little too strong.
Nice defensive possession by the Aggies.
Gilder crosses over. The tip follow was good for Tyler Davis. And it's down to 10 again with 5:52 to go. Bob Wischusen, Fran Fraschilla here in Morgantown. And the crowd sensing that this is the moment that West Virginia might be able to put this game away. Can Texas A&M hang in as Bob Huggins wants a timeout? A&M, of course, as we told you before, playing without DJ Hogue, their second leading scorer, and they have turned it over 20 times. Do they have enough offensive talent to get over the top, down by 10, under 6 minutes to go, and maybe pull out a road upset?
Well, the tough part for them is that West Virginia values the basketball on offense, and they're using clock by moving the ball. And you'd like to see if the game can speed up a little bit, at least so they can get out and run and use Gilder. That's going to be the challenge, I think, down the stretch. But give the Aggies credit. Minus those 20 turnovers, Bob, in the half court, they've been very effective. In fact, they've been more effective in the half court tonight than Kansas on Tuesday night. And good performance by Billy Kennedy's team. This is kind of what he told us yesterday, right? Going to go out, play. Conference play is more important. We're going to measure our young team against a really good defensive team in West Virginia.
He thought win or lose, his team would take a lot out of this experience.
And I think so far they have.
Shot clock down to 5. Adrian gives it up. Dax Miles comes up short. And the rebound pulled down by Tyler Davis.
Uh-oh.
But he gives it away to Miles.
Miles just hung around.
Another turnover.
Yep. This is the problem when you play West Virginia. You got to be focused for 40 minutes.
Adrian drives it. That's blocked. Javon Carter's got it. Back to Adrian in the corner. Short offensive rebound, Javon Carter, and a fresh 30 for West Virginia.
Isn't this the formula? Turnovers and offensive rebounds equals more possessions.
Well, among active coaches, only Mike Krzyzewski and Jim Boeheim have more wins than Bob Huggins. So if a team is reflective of their coach, no matter how frantic a style West Virginia plays, they never look rattled.
Oh, I agree, Bob. And Bob's always been that way on the offensive end.
A little too fancy for Dax Miles, though, and that might send him to the bench as he throws a wild pass over his shoulder.
Watch Dax Miles. He looked like a defensive back. And then right on this next possession, Gilder sloppy, throwing it away, and Miles with that behind-the-head pass is going to have a seat on that West Virginia bench.
After that behind-the-head pass, he was given the stare of daggers. Bob Huggins.
He got the hook.
As he went to the bench. No need for it, obviously, with a 12-point lead with 4.5 to go.
That's what we call the quick hook.
J.C. Hampton with the shot clock winding down. Double team.
Can't
6 to
dribble it.
shoot. Collins thought about it. And now Collins is fouled by Tariq Phillip. It'll be free throws when we come back for West Virginia. Or for Texas A&M rather. That's West Virginia's 7th team foul with under 4 minutes to go.
Killed my men.
It's time we stopped running, start hunting.
Tom Cruise.
Who the hell are you? The guy you didn't count on.
Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, on Blu-ray Tuesday and digital now.
Scalability. The Microsoft Cloud helps our customers get up and running anywhere on the planet. Wherever there's a phone, you've got a bank. And we could never do that before.
The cloud gave us a single platform to reach across our entire organization. It helps us communicate better.
We use the Microsoft Cloud's advanced analytics tools to track down cyber criminals.
This cloud helps transform business. This is the Microsoft Cloud.
All right, Dan, we'll see how much drama we have here in Morgantown. Much will depend on whether or not Chris Collins can get the job done at the free throw line, which he cannot. But the rebound run down by Tyler Davis.
Now, I just got to jump in real quick. How about Georgia Tech winning again, beating Notre Dame? Unbelievable. Coach of the year, maybe.
Admon Gilder. That's blocked by Konate, but a foul called. Well, this is a coaching moment we saw while we were away. Here is that wild pass that bought a trip to the bench for Dax Miles. Here's his reaction with Bob Huggins while we were away.
Classic. More bark than bite sometimes from Bob Huggins. You talk about loving your players. They put up with them every day, the haranguing. And that is a perfect example, Bob, of how they allow themselves to be coached by a guy who's going to stay on them every single day. And it doesn't matter what the score is. He is going to be on them to play the way he wants them to play. There, you know, when you think of Akron, Cincinnati, the year at Kansas State, there's an incredible loyalty between Bob and his players. That was a perfect example right there.
How about the day for Admon Gilder? Had 20 in the win over Ole Miss. Now has 20 again. So back-to-back season highs for Gilder. And the lead at 10 with 3.5 to go. Now A&M has to get some stops. Shot clock down to 6.
And zone's been effective against West Virginia.
Adrian at the elbow. Comes up short. Saved by Williams.
Tell you what, if they can take care of the ball, they may need to call a timeout here. Can't
a takeaway. Adrian lost it. Foul call. Well, they were in danger of a 10 count even if they didn't give the ball away along the baseline. As they had already spent 7 seconds under the basket.
Watch Adrian now. This guy, he had 5 deflections early in the game. He's going to get another one here and then come up with a loose ball. And when you talk about all these hustle plays, whether it's diving on the floor, grabbing extra offensive rebounds. You know, last year, Jonathan Holden averaged 8 deflections at the top of that press Virginia. And this year, Nathan Adrian, not as good an athlete, Bob, just as effective because he understands the system.
Couldn't hit the free throw, though. Admon Gilder, by the way, picked up his 4th foul. So if A&M were ever to get this game to overtime, their best scorer right now is in big-time foul trouble. Morelos can't hit the 3.
Watch West Virginia, if they don't have the break, normally now they're going to use clock unless you get a wide open one.
Carter left alone and makes A&M pay.
Boy, Carter is, I'll tell you, so good. Maybe the best defensive guard in the country. Certainly among the top 3 or 4, Bob. And he gives you the offense as well.
Gilder blocked. Konate swats it away. And of course, this is just the start of a long day of basketball and a great day of matchups between the SEC and the Big 12. And the challenge this year, of course, taking you up to 6:15, Kentucky and Kansas, the main event. Plenty of games between now and then as well. And Kansas, Fran, without Carlton Bragg because of the suspension. Of course, Azubuike going down with the wrist injury earlier this year. That is a short rotation on the road at Rupp. As Adrian misses the putback attempt. How about the challenges for Bill Self to try and get a road win against Kentucky, where he doesn't have a lot of weapons and answers to go to when he looks down his bench?
Yeah, I think it's house money for them. I don't, in Bill Self's heart, they're going to do everything they can to win the game. But it's a non-conference game on the road. Great visibility, great exposure. Key for me is going to be, can the veteran guards, can they, how do they handle Kentucky's freshman guards who have struggled the last couple games, particularly Malik Monk? So, yes, they're thin. Yes, they give up points in the paint. That's why I think if you're John Calipari, you're thinking Bam Adebayo tonight, go inside early and see if you can get Landon Lucas in foul trouble because of the depth. We've seen that. That's been a good formula for teams to attack Kansas.
Well, Frank Mason and Devontae Graham, of course, they never come off the floor. Now against the pace of play they're going to face tonight, so interesting to see if Kentucky can just wear out Kansas when those two teams meet at 6:15 Eastern on ESPN. Kansas, Kentucky in Rupp. It's the Sonic Blockbuster, also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. All-time, Kentucky leads the series, probably more lopsided than you'd think. 22-7 are the Cats over the Hawks. 7-1 at Rupp.
Rick Pitino's first year at Kentucky, And they were building. They went to Allen Fieldhouse and they gave up 150 points because he decided he was gonna press the whole game. And the game, I think it was a 50-plus point victory for KU. We're not going to see that tonight, obviously. But Kentucky has had the better of Kansas. Of course, that rivalry goes back a long time, and they don't see each other, year to year. They do meet in the Champions Classic on occasion, every 3 seasons.
Another terrific afternoon for Javon Carter as he got off to a slow start. He was the last of the 10 players that finally had field goals for West Virginia to score a field goal. He's working on a 19-point, 9-rebound, 2-assist game.
We mentioned he almost had a triple-double against Kansas, and no West Virginia player has had a triple-double in 41 years.
J.C. Hampton hits a 3, the lead down to 9 with 1:19 to go. A&M now out of timeouts. And how about some other games we talked about earlier in the SEC Big 12 Challenge that are drawing your eye that you want to see? See how teams, especially some of these teams that are on the road in tough environments, handle an opponent they're not familiar with.
Baylor's going to Ole Miss, and Baylor's obviously going to be favored. But listen, road game, non-conference, maybe not as much to play for as, say, if it was a conference game. I'm going to be anxious to see if Baylor goes to Oxford and brings their A game, because we know how good they can be when their A game is on. But I'm fascinated by Michael White's team going to Norman. That's an NCAA team ranked 25th in the country, and yet we see growth from Lon Kruger's young team.
Especially when they have Jordan Woodard healthy. They're such a different team when he's in the lineup, as 4 players on Chad Ford's big board are going to be appearing in SEC Big 12 Challenge games presented by Sonic. 7 Big 12 teams at the tournament started tomorrow, according to Joe Lunardi, are in, and the history between Kansas and Kentucky is really unrivaled.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the history of great programs like North Carolina and Kentucky actually starts with Kansas, because when you think of the great Dean Smith and Adolph Rupp, former Kansas basketball players.
West Virginia able to break the A&M pressure. Issa Ahmad draws a foul on Tyler Davis.
Bob, I think Billy Kennedy, assuming they can't come back from 9 down, I think he's going to be pleased with the effort today from his team. You mentioned they were down 20. They've clawed back. They had chances to cut into this lead. And I think this is a team that, when we talk about the future, has got a really bright future ahead. The SEC has 5 of the 25 youngest teams in college basketball, not including this A&M team, which is a young team. So the future looks good. And of course, every night in the Big 12 right now, we're watching guys grow up before our eyes.
Chance for Tyler Davis to go back to the free throw line.
Zach Canate called for a foul. His third.
So Zach Canate called for his third. That will bring Elijah Macon back in.
You get the sense with West Virginia, once they got the 20-point lead, it was like, okay, we're going to get this one. Now back to conference play.
You also get the sense with West Virginia that even when they're up 20 and a team feels like they're chipping away at that lead, and all of a sudden Mountaineers look up, see, 6, let's just turn the press back on and make this a double-digit lead again. They can almost do that at will.
Yeah, they've done that today. Their next game will be at Iowa State, Hilton Coliseum, where they won last year, but never an easy place.
Robert Williams goes over the back.
And as Baylor found out, and West Virginia, Texas Tech's pretty good. Baylor had to go to the wire at home against the Red Raiders. You know what's interesting about the SEC Big 12 Challenge this year is 3 of the SEC's best teams are not in the challenge. South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Alabama. So in a sense, you know, they may be behind the 8 ball, but a good opportunity for teams like Florida to go on the road and get a win, or Ole Miss beating a Baylor at home. Of course, there's 14 teams in the league, and that's why you have some teams not playing and participating.
Yeah, all 10 teams in the Big 12 obviously are in the challenge. Couple of misses at the line, and now an easy one at the other end, and a new season high for Admon Gilder.
And a turnover away from making this a ball game if they can convert.
Javon Carter throws one to midcourt. Adrian is able to find Phillip. And now a foul given by J.C. Hampton. So Tariq Phillip, only a 63% free throw shooter, will go to the line as Hampton picks up his third. Both teams over the 10 foul limit, so it's the double bonus the rest of the way.
This is the exact point of a game where when you're behind, you can elongate the game and trade, like right there. Trade 2 for 1 or 3 for 1, 3 for 2. So already now they've gotten him to miss one. But keep your eye on Adrian and Ahmad right here on the free throw line. Really good at getting inside. Okay.
West Virginia's now 10 for 21 at the line.
Don't need a 3 unless it's wide open, but you got to go quickly.
Hampton knocks down a 3 right in the face of Javon Carter. The lead's down to 5.
Now, you got to give one soon. You can't waste too much time.
Carter turns it over. Admon Gilder blocked by Adrian, but a foul call.
Yep.
Gilder's about to go to the free throw line with 30 seconds to go to see if he can make it a one-possession game.
Bob, they've handled the last minute perfectly. Take a look now. Hampton, who's been really good today, knocked down a 3. They set up their press, and they forced a turnover from Javon Carter, and then foul Gilder. And you're going to allow Robert Williams, if he makes this, to be at the point of that full court pressure.
24 points for Admon Gilder. It's a one-possession game with 30 seconds to go.
Well done. They substitute. They get Trosha Morelos in so they can set up their press even better.
Adrian gets it into Carter.
See, I would foul. I wouldn't worry too much. And you got to give one soon.
Adrian underneath finds Macon, who throws it down.
I would have fouled sooner, but they still got to go quick.
A 3 on the way from Hampton. He's got it. It's a 2-point game with 12 and a half seconds to go.
You can't worry about it now. If you don't get the steal in the trap, you must foul right away.
10 seconds to go.
You can't worry about free throw shooters. You got to give one.
7 seconds to go. And finally, Ahmad is fouled with 4.4 seconds to go.
Bob, when you're trading 2 for 1 and 3 for 2, it doesn't matter that Carter is a good free throw shooter. You know, at 75%, time is of the essence and is your enemy. And I would have rather the foul with about 12 seconds. Carter makes one or both. You still can come down, score quick, and set up your press again.
Now, if you're Bob Huggins, are you now maybe calling a timeout to remind your team, if we make 1 of 2 here, we are fouling? Don't let them get a 3 off. How would you play this?
I would wait to see what happens on the first one. Okay, to see if Ahmad makes it.
West Virginia has struggled at the line as a team. And Issa Ahmad, only a 65% free throw shooter. Knocks down the first.
Now, if you're A&M, and hopefully you practice this, if there is a miss and you get the rebound and get it to Gilder, he's going to have at least 3 dribbles. He doesn't have to hoist it from 70 feet. He's got time to get some distance.
But Ahmad makes both.
Doesn't matter now.
So Carter will set up the press in the backcourt. But the last thing West Virginia wants to do is come anywhere near any of these shooters for A&M with 4.4 seconds to go. It's into Carlton, back to Gilder, throws one up, and that will do it. Texas A&M put a little pressure on Press Virginia down the stretch, but it's a win at home for the Mountaineers. Now it's time to go to Norman. It's Oklahoma and Florida as Brett Musburger's got the call.